Why did I choose to work with James Cubitt? Maybe I should give you a bit of background on that. So I had this friend who was at the time working with James Cubitt Architects. If I recall, she was an associate director and she was working on this project. And because we're close, I would go over to her place over the weekend, spend time with her. And then I was watching her slugging out, trying to push out a deliverable. I just found it really fascinating. And you know, I said earlier on that my first lessons in tenacity, my dad taught me. So of course I grew up with that principle that, you know, what doing well, and then just having understanding delayed gratification, just staying put, staying the course, you know, just being focused on what it is you're trying to achieve. And I would watch her. There was a time, I think that was what did it for me. There was a time she had to deliver something on a Monday, and she started this work. It was an impossible deliverable, and she started work. I saw her sit in a chair for like 12 hours, and she was just doing this thing. And I said to her, "Can I not help you?" You know, because I was thinking, how can I ease the pressure? What can I assist her? And she was like, "Yeah, you can." And I said, "Well, but I wish I knew the software." And she said, "No, the softwares are pretty much the same." Because at the time I was using the software called SketchUp. And so she just talked me through it. And then voila, I started to assist her. Then she had a review session with the MD of James Cubitt Architects, Mr. Alan Davis, that I spoke about earlier. And we had gone over to his house for that review, and I was still working on this thing in his kitchen, right? And he had asked how she was able to, you know, meet up because she was covering ground. And she said to him that I had assisted him. Now, what I really liked that happened afterwards was the fact that he looked past my not being an architect at the time. He focused more on the value that I was bringing to the table and the problems I was able to solve for them at the time. And so at that point, he asked whether I wanted to join. I was a bit jittery because I was thinking, I will not fit in, you know. But then I went back and I thought about it, spoke to a few friends, and they were like, "No, of course you can do it, you know, you go for it." And I said, "Okay, you know, why not?" So I went for an interview and then I joined them. But it was the fact that he looked past my not being the norm for getting a member of team on board. I was on because it's an architectural firm, you know. So yeah, so I really liked that. The thing that keeps me awake at night, the thing that wakes me up in the morning, wanting to just do better, to ask questions. I think my curiosity also has helped me because I ask a lot of questions. Again, around just making things better. I remember when I joined James Cubitt Architects, we didn't have James Cubitt Interiors. And I started to ask the question, okay, so we're designing these buildings. We're designing for people, yes, but then these people are going to be spending most of their time within the space. Surely we should be looking into that too. And I saw that as an opportunity for us. And I recall I brought it up with Mr. Davis, and he said, "You know what, go for it." And I worked with him, and we set up the business. At the time, I didn't run it. I had predecessors, like 2 predecessors before me, but I learned from them. I learned a lot from them before the business was, of course, passed down to me. So that's what really got me here. I don't know that they were asking the same questions. I had predecessors because this was like a new terrain. So I guess at the time, they thought it better to have someone who probably had done this on a larger scale to run the business at the time. So they came on board. It's like having like a mentor, I imagine. So the predecessors were external. They were not part of the system. They were brought in. I think the first person actually had been doing it in England before she came in to Nigeria. So she was just pulled in. Second one too had been practicing. I think she practiced in England and then also worked in Spain for a while. Yeah, so I believe that at the time, the business felt the need to have that sort of starting point, because we're setting it up as a business. Now, one thing I didn't mention is that before I joined, years before, there was one individual who was managing, I think they probably had select projects, and she was managing those select projects for interior design for the firm, but it wasn't set up as a separate business unit or company. So what we're doing was different. So Mr. Davis at the time probably thought it was better to do it that way. I must say, I mean, I did learn a lot from those two. Before then it came to me. What we have in our sector, if you allow me to talk about this a little, is there is the markets, the lines are blurred between interior decorators and interior designers or interior architects. So for example, my team, on my team, all of my technical team members are architects, all of them. So there is that leverage. So what this means is that they've done their first degree in architecture and then they've kind of transited to do interiors. A lot of the businesses here don't really have that. We're hoping that there'll be a shift, because once you start this sort of thing, you expect that people's appetites will grow and people will start to understand that this is what they deserve. Like, the market understands what they deserve, and the people who are providing the services will up their game, right? So currently, we have a lot of decorators. Now, decorators do amazing jobs. When you go into a space, they choose your colors, they choose the look and feel of a space. They can even choose finishes. They might not go into the granular details of the technical performance of those items, but they're able to do that. So you have a lot of that in the industry. But what we do is much different. As I explained earlier, we go down deep into the granular details of specifying for all of those things. We have to understand the psychology of that space, and we design for it too. So that sets us apart in the industry. So we find that we're constantly schooling people, schooling the market, the people who don't understand what we do differently. That's been an interesting journey also. I would say we're making some progress, and hopefully over time they understand what it is we do, the appetite grows, and then the industry also would improve.